Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Talking Mods. Today we're going to jump right in and talk about 8 mistakes or myths that newbies, when you're first getting into the modification scene or even working on your car, 8 things that you should probably be aware of. Okay guys, so on today's Talking Mods, we're going to talk about different mistakes that happen or misconceptions that we have, myths, when we're first starting to learn how to mod. And we might hear from one of our friends, they might say something and we think, okay, well that means this and that means that, and therefore the manufacturer said this and therefore I got to go with that. So I'm going to talk about them. If you guys need any parts for your vehicle, or even if we don't have it on our website, go to modbargains.com, check it out. You know, we're going to talk about springs and other things, suspension and all that. We have it available for you guys. So the first one, it's going to be in suspension. When we're getting springs, a lot of times the common idea is that, hey, if you get springs, you need to let it settle. In the old days, this was true. You needed to let the springs settle because they weren't pre-sprung. Now some brands like Eibach or Vogelin, they will actually, before they're even sending it out to people, they are putting the weight and compressing it in advance so that you can jump in and get your alignment right before. So you don't need to wait. And now if the brand doesn't do that, you should definitely be asking that question. Is it pre-settled or not pre-settled, right? So that's the common misconception there. If it's not pre-settled, you want to wait about a week, let the car, the natural weight on it, about a week or about 300 miles before you get your alignment so you can get a proper alignment, because it will settle. And you'll probably see a drop there a little bit happen after that time being. Number 2, when you are getting your wheels put on, and I'm going to use my own personal experience here, and if you're going, and even if you're not getting it from a professional shop, every place should be torquing to specification for your vehicle. Whether you have a Tesla, you have a Dodge Ram, you've got a Jeep, whatever it is, right? A BMW M4, and every vehicle has its own torque specs for the wheels when they're getting done. And it should be done by hand. It shouldn't be done by those machines that you've seen when they're like... they should be done exactly to specification. Why? Now, over-torquing is a major issue where it can either cause problems with the wheels, where it's cross-threaded. There's all kinds of issues that you can see happen there. Again, torquing to specification is critical. Another part of it is, this is the thing that most people forget to tell you. After it's been torqued to specification, about a week after driving on it, you should go and get the torque checked the second time, if you can. If you don't have that torque wrench, you need to get it checked the second time. Torque wrenches as well do not last forever. They do need to get calibrated, you know, on a regular basis. So I know on our shop here, on our Mod Auto shop, we do calibrate it at least every 6 months to a year, depending on the usage of that tool. So torquing to specification, very critical, guys, and often forgotten almost by every single shop, including Costco and all those other places. Now, another interesting one, and this is one that you see in racing, is they use it quite a bit, but oftentimes when we have our customers call in or talk to people, they're often very afraid, and it's spacers. Spacers or hub rings. The two are different. Spacers obviously move the wheel hub away, so it changes your offset, obviously. And spacers, the problem with most spacers out there is there really are a lot of companies out there that are making spacers to be lightweight. And they're marketing towards you to be, hey, let's make it lighter and lighter weight. It's going to save you weight on your wheels. Guys, you don't want to be saving weight there. That is directly what touches the wheel to the hub. You need it to be to specification, as strong as possible. I personally like to recommend only TÜV approved, which is the highest level of certification that comes out of Germany. Brands like H&R, they use a TÜV, so it's one of the things that I know I personally made sure that on our website, that's what we sell. We try to stay away from those lightweight ones. Now on the other side, flip of things, Most wheels, not a lot of wheels, are custom made, right? And the center bore is not going to be one, it's going to be a bigger center bore, and then it goes down to a smaller size. And to do that, they use a hub ring, a metal and plastic. It really doesn't make that much of a difference at all, actually. Everyone might have their own opinion. Feel free to put your opinion in there in the comments. But hub rings are not a big deal. Some people freak out about it, but most of the time it's not an issue. If you are going to use spacers, which I don't believe is an issue, if you're using a quality spacer. One of the things with spacers though, guys, another thing is you do want to use anti-seize. You do want to clear the surfaces. I see too often cheap spacers. They're stuck on there. You can't even remove them. They're rusted out. I see it way too often. The next one, oil weight. Oftentimes I've talked about this myth before, but the myth is that, you know, the recommendation is, let's say, 0W40. Well, that's perfectly fine, but where was the car manufactured and what's that weight going off of? That weight is going off of, a 0W40 is going off a weight that's recommended for somebody who lives in colder climates. So if you're out in New York or out in the East Coast where it's really, really cold, and you know where it's cold, obviously, you need to go with that specification because you do get into freezing temperatures. But if you live in California, Arizona, Texas, and so forth, you don't need that weight, and you don't have to go with that specific wheel. I keep saying wheel weight, the oil weight on the vehicle. You can go with a 5W40, and the car will actually perform better over the long run, especially because we do have higher heats. So don't just conform to what the manufacturer says. So you need to pick the weight based on your climate. So that's a big myth that's obviously and oftentimes misunderstood by a lot of people. One of the big questions that we see quite a bit on the next topic is oil filter versus dry filter. So on intakes you have an oil filter or a dry filter, and often the thought process, or what I end up hearing from people, or one person tells me and another person, oil filters are going to damage my mass airflow sensor, or they damage the car. Very not true. Long time ago now, brands like, I know AFE for they actually make TRD, so Toyota Racing Development. They made theirs. If that's private knowledge, well, I released it. But they used their specific oil combination is an organic-based oil, and it was designed to not mess up the mass airflow sensor. If there is excess oil that falls into it, it doesn't mess it up. A lot of the newer brands of intake from, I know, Amisol and those kinds that use for the oiled filters, they're not going to be hurting the mass airflow sensor. Obviously, if you over oil it, you need to remove the excess. You don't want to over oil when you're cleaning it, the filters. But oil filter versus dry filter, yeah, there is a difference. Oil filter is going to have more flow than a dry. Dry is going to catch more, but it doesn't mean that it's the oil filter is going to hurt your vehicle, guys. So just be aware of it. This is a big one. And I think this one comes from more of my experience on being in the aftermarket car scene for quite some time and talking to different body shops and being involved in it. So Aero pieces, you know, we're talking about front spoilers, rear spoilers, diffusers, and so forth. There's often this misconception that it's going to be perfect. Let me debunk this myth right off the bat. There is no such thing as perfect fitment. I've seen brands that are, and I'm not going to name names here because I'm not trying to cause a problem, but I've seen brands that cost $5,000 for their piece to even more expensive, and they require trimming, they require some sanding, they require some modification to get it to fit right. The obvious answer is to work with a shop that's capable, that can do the modifications that's necessary, and also lowering your expectations. I mean, oftentimes we think the expectation is going to be this perfect, 100% perfect fit. If it gets perfect fit, that's amazing. But more often than not, it's going to be, you're going to have some fitment issues, guys. And it requires, you know, trimming and so forth. So this is a huge one that I'm obviously, I've been in this industry. We tell it to our customers, we let them know. But people's expectations are just sometimes even beyond OEM, I don't know. And obviously, sometimes it is a byproduct of what you pay, but not always, guys. And again, even the more expensive stuff requires work. So set the expectations where it should be. Obviously you don't want terrible fitments, and hopefully whoever you're working with tells you up front and says, hey, this is the way it's going to fit, and it's going to be close. Check out the pictures. Is it the actual product on the car? Because oftentimes, especially eBay, they're stealing images from other websites. I know that eBay steals our images. They've been doing that for years from different vendors. But you got to be careful with that. Are they actually selling this specific product that's on actual vehicles and those images? Because that's what you should expect. If you're seeing it there on the pictures, then you should expect a similar fitment. And you can obviously ask for different fitments and try to see all the different angles as best as you can. So that's my piece of advice when making those kind of purchases, and to have a realistic expectation. Another one. This is going to be for the guys who have different brake fluid within their vehicle. Oftentimes with brake fluid, and this is a newbie mistake, hey, I bought this new expensive brake fluid and I don't need to change it out. Wait. Guys, anything that's .5 and over .5, so any brake fluid that's over .5, and I'm going to give you some examples, some brands. Motul RBF 600, 660, StopTech 660, I think it's called STP, APs, brembo kits, all of those kits, they are all going to need to be changed out yearly, guys. They do end up having more condensation. They do grab like the water molecules in there, and it is recommended that you switch them out within a year. So that is an often misconstrued and often ignored service thing, and I don't want you guys to have that problem. So I'm just letting you guys know that's a big one. And the last one, last and not least, number 8 here on, is if you change your ride height, guys. If you're raising that truck or Jeep, or if you are lowering it or lowering your vehicle, whatever you do, you're putting on a newer size and so forth. Anytime you're changing your ride height, you should be getting an alignment. I know you think I don't need it, and a lot of people, oh, I got an alignment before this. As soon as you change the ride height, the geometry of the vehicle changes. Save yourself the headache and the money. I've learned this the hard way. And I'm going to give you my personal experience. I had just switched out my wheels at the time. I went to a smaller size wheel, actually, from a bigger size to a smaller size, and I went on a long road trip and just completely forgot to do the alignment. I actually knew in the back of my mind I should get an alignment, but I got it done, and then I went on this road trip up north, and it was a very bad and a very expensive, because your alignment is messed up. I had wear on the inside at one point, and what ended up happening was my tires started bubbling up. I couldn't drive any further. I was out in the middle of nowhere. I went to Walmart. They didn't have low profile tires. I ended up buying whatever tire they had until I could at least just get home, because it was a Sunday. And I just needed, my whole trip got canceled. I had to go back. It was a disaster, guys. So remember, when you're changing your ride height on your vehicle, you do need an alignment. And I'm just throwing this in, if you are hitting a lot of like, especially those parking lot bump stops, if you're hitting them hard, if you're not actually slowing down, I'm talking about significantly slowing down, that does affect your alignment, guys. So you will see it out of spec very easily if you're hitting a lot of those, or if you're going to those parking lots. I hate those things because they really do mess your alignment up, especially if you hit it hard. So go as slow as you can on them. Who cares if someone's getting annoyed with you that you're going so slow on it? You don't really want to, you don't need to go pay for more alignment just because, you know, trying to get over these little speed bumps across the road. And oh, one thing I did forget to mention, I'll add it in here at the end. My personal story with the torquing, I said that I had a personal story on that. One of my wheels, after a week, was a very dangerous situation. I did check it, and right as I checked it, I noticed that, hey, the torque had come off. I don't know what happened with the forces there when it was a brand new wheel, but it did loosen up. So again, torquing is another, that one is a very, that was number 2. So very vital and important. Guys, I hope this helps you guys out, and I'm sure there's other myths that you guys know about, or you hear about and talk about, or want an answer to. If it's an answer that you guys want, submit it. Please check out our Instagram. We'll have our Q&A over there for you guys. If you guys can, subscribe please. It really does help us out when you guys make comments and you like. It's very important to us, and I appreciate it significantly. We all do, so we can continue making great content for you guys. If you haven't already done so, hit the notification. And guys, I will see you on the next Talking Mods.